Hey everyone, Brandon here with Wake Productions coming at you with a new video. This one's going to be slightly different style-wise. Don't normally do stuff like this, but we're going to be doing an unboxing today of some Holley products. If the video catches on, I may do more of these in the future, but let's get to the video. Alright, so we're down here in Austin's garage, and it looks like he just spent a lot of money getting a Holley setup for his Project Daytona 65R. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got here?
Certainly, it may make sense to talk about why and what got us here. So this car we anticipate somewhere in the 11 to 1400 horsepower range, depending on how much power we can safely put to the ground, 'cause it's not going to be very heavy. So to feed all of that, we've got a fuel-safe fuel cell in the back with two Aeromotive A1000 pumps. That's feeding to the front through it, two -10 lines and a -8 return, and then we needed a way to control all of that. And so what we have here is some of the wiring to do that, and the ECUs. Do you want to start over?
There's a worm on the floor.
What are you doing down there? You're not being very sneaky there, buddy.
While a funny outtake.
No, we're going to leave that in.
All right, so anyway, we had a couple of options to run from a computer and an engine management setup. The first would be Ford Racing's Power Pack. So that's a standard Ford computer, drive-by-wire, O2 sensors, the whole lot. The problem here is we need to be able to run more than just the Coyote, and we wanted some expandability, so that meant going to a standalone. Which you have a couple of options there, AEM and Holley being your main two. We chose Holley, and so we've got a standalone computer and some of the harnesses that go with it.
So what ECU did you end up going with out of the Holley lineup?
We went with the Dominator ECU. Two options there, the HP or the Dominator, for about 800 bucks more, give or take. You can go with the Dominator. Here you have quite a bit more expandability. You have up to 30, I believe, inputs. Switchable inputs, so we can control the fan, the intercooler, the fuel pumps, any number of things out of this system. And so I think the added expense in the long run is worth it.
Especially for the caliber of what you're trying to build here.
Exactly. And also something that I think if we went with the HP, we would probably end up just switching to the Dominator in the near future anyway. So this is it. This will likely mount in the passenger footwell along with the Coyote variable valve timing computer. So that's our Dominator. Set this aside. Here we've got a few harnesses. So this is our main harness for a Ford Coyote 5.0. So this obviously connects here, and we'll probably end up cutting it up a little bit so that it makes for a nice, easy and clean install into the car. We don't want anything flopping around or loose in the engine bay. Here we have, this is our, I believe this is our sub harness. It is. It's a sub engine harness also for the Coyote.
Alright, so we had the harnesses, and then you did end up finding out that we had the...
We do actually have the computer to be able to control our cams. It's a little guy. It's right here. This will be mounted likely right next to our Dominator.
What do those run, like 600 bucks?
Maybe a little more.
Depending upon, yeah.
Yeah, I think sales. Depending, but I think it's probably in the $700 range. There's no question that going with Holley costs more than like the Ford Power Pack, but again, long term and for what this car is intended to accomplish, it seemed like money well spent.
And you got a bunch of the safeties and stuff like that too.
You do. Here we've got our map sensor. We've also got a couple of NTK widebands. For now we're going to run two O2 sensors. These are our Aeromotive wiring, so this is separate from Holley. But this is our wiring harnesses. We have two of these, one for each fuel pump, one of which will run off of a Hobbs to come on when we need it. But
yeah, because you have two A1000s, right?
Correct, and we don't need to run two A1000s all the time, especially at idle.
Yeah, dude, I was going to send it.
Here we've got our injector harness. These will connect to our ID, so Injector Dynamics 1700s. In this box, you've got your coil harness. We're running factory coils. You can also run Holley's coils. We could easily upgrade to Holley coils later if we want to. This box, we've got our main power harness. Everything's nicely labeled, by the way, so it's easy to find. So this is our main power harness to the computer. Something to remember with these, and something I've seen with other installs, is to connect straight to the battery and not to any sort of remote terminal, because you really don't want any residual power coming back to the ECU. So we'll find a way to connect directly to our battery to have constant power. And then we've got our fuel pressure regulator. And last but not least, we're going to control all of this through Holley's brand new 12.3-inch digital dash.
So what all are the features of that 12.3-inch dash that you liked over, say, the smaller version? Because it was a pretty significant cost increase, wasn't it?
It's about $700 more, maybe slightly more than that. A couple of things. One, obviously, just the size of the dash itself. We don't plan to run many other mechanical gauges, so this will clean up the dash in the car. It also allows for up to 12 different pages, so we're going to be able to run a startup page, a dyno page, a race page, maybe a street page. It also has way more control over other inputs, like the Dominator, all through its harness. So the Dominator and this will allow us to switch on and off quite literally anything we want, from turn signals to our intercooler water pump. So it's just a little bit easier to use, in my opinion, because you'll have less switches on the dash, and it's going to make for a cleaner install. It also has an integrated GPS right here, so we'll just remote mount the
could use that for speed or something.
Cinder unit, for speed. We may also run speed off the transmission, but it'll be nice to have that. And we'll also run 2 USB plugs here. And so we're going to remote mount some USB plugs on the dash to be able to tune right through the device. And you can actually do quite a bit of tuning through the digital dash without having to use a separate computer.
Be interesting to see if you can interface with it with like gloves on, or if you need like a specific glove.
My guess is you'd probably need a specific glove. But the tunability is a big plus. I mean, with the USBs, you'd be able to run even a keyboard and a mouse right off of this without having to plug in a computer. And obviously, you can have limited tunability with that, but for a quick adjustment at the track, it makes a big difference. So obviously, if cost or space is a concern, I'd go with the smaller dash. But on this build, we didn't see any need to go with the smaller dash, and we don't have a space issue. This will essentially be our entire dashboard.
So what was it that made you decide to go with Holley over, say, something like an AEM or a Haltech or whatever?
Yeah, to be honest, one thing is what originally persuaded us, and that's the ability to be able to control the cams. I think the key feature of the Coyote is in the heads, and it is in the cams, and so I wanted to be able to still have control over those, did not want to lock them out. And then added to that, the ability to integrate with a digital dash for usability and clean install.
And I think there's a lot more racers here and tuners that are more fluent in Holley.
Right. Yeah, there's no doubt. Holley's, it's going to be easier to tune and a little bit easier to find people who have knowledge about it. So.
And weren't you going to go to the school too, or were you intending on that?
I'm planning to. If we have time next year, I'd like to. It's not very expensive, and it seems like it'd be a good thing to do, so we can tune it ourselves. So yeah, we'll try and learn it and be able to operate the Holley on our own a little bit.
Okay. So I know that there's variable pricing with stuff like this, as there is, because you can get through sales, and some vendors are blowing some things out and not others. So ballpark, I assume, would be like any other ECU, like in the $5,000+ range, depending upon options.
Yeah, a lot of it is in the harnesses. I can tell you, if you buy the Ford Racing Power Pack, which is the most basic option to run a manual transmission, you can find those between $1,500 and $1,800. You'd have to add to that then some other costs, gauges, switches, any sort of fuses, relays, and those kinds of things. But you could probably outfit this car off of a Ford Power Pack with manual gauges for $2,500, maybe less.
Mm-hmm. So that was effectively double plus.
So this is double plus, and if you add the digital dash, which is going to be in the $1,700 range, all told, you're probably $6,000 or more with what you see here. So it's quite a bit more expensive.
Especially depending upon the deals you can find, because I think there were some Holley markdowns for Black Friday that were like 15% off or something ridiculous.
That's right.
So.
At AEM, if you did AEM, you might want to run a race pack. So you're right about the AEM pricing, probably $4,000 or $5,000 plus the cost of a race pack probably puts you awfully close to what you have here.
Yep, that's pretty standard for any ECU. I have Pro EFI in mine, and that's probably around what I paid for everything. So.
And this assumes you already have injectors like we do in some of the other, parts that we're connecting to it.
Yeah, it's definitely pricey, but getting rid of some of this factory stuff that you don't need and building in the safeties on a motor that costs as much as a sleeved Coyote with ported heads and cams costs, it's kind of a no-brainer. So I wanted to get a little bit closer up of these cords, just so you could see the quality of the braiding. And then, obviously the connectors here. So this is the main power harness. Let's see here, coming over, I think this is the screen. This is awful with one hand. Looks like it gives you a little template so you can figure out how to mount it. So there's the screen in all of its glory. If my camera would focus, there we go. You want to open up one of these fuel injector harnesses?
Yeah. What do we have here? This is the
Coil harness. Okay. So if you look at that.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff.
Probably will wrap all of these in tape as well.
Yeah,
We need to make sure these are clean. They're just labeled for the cylinders right now to make it easy.
Then obviously we have your TI-VCT controller here. And we have some lovely music being played in the background. Here's the Dominator. That's really dense. It's a lot heavier than I thought it would be.
It is dense. It's quite a bit.
So these are our main harnesses. So I mean, obviously the quality on all of these cables is pretty much the same thing as the braid, and obviously we're probably going to want to cover a little bit more than they did.
Yeah, and this is your main engine harness. You can see there's your phasers, there's your VVT connector, so this will go into the computer. It'll allow you to control that, and this is main power. So everything's nicely labeled.
And these were the aeromotive pump.
These are for the air, yes, so these control the aeromotive pumps. So they provide power straight back to the pump and include a relay.
For those interested, I just wanted to get some of the quality.
Yeah, these are quite nice.
Alright, so that's the unboxing video. In our next Daytona video, some of the sheet metal came back, so we'll be installing that. If you like videos like this, feel free to subscribe. We're doing a big Daytona build project here from Factory 5. So with that being said, you guys have a good day.